being with us here tonight. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Randy Gill, and I'm the president and CEO of Their Opportunity. And welcome to Opportunity Talks. And I have an incredible guest with me this evening that I'm really excited to introduce to you. She's the pride of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Resides in Calgary, Alberta. And she's a superhero mother of two, a three-time Olympic athlete, a six-time World Cup medalist in the 1500 meter, one-time world champion and world record holder in team pursuit for Team Canada, speed skater Brittany Schussler. Welcome.
Thank you. Don't build it up so big.
Oh yeah, well, you deserve to be built up, my friend. You do. Yeah. What a resume. Not bad, eh?
Not bad. Mom led first, right? That's the hardest one of all.
That's the big one right there.
That's the big one.
So let me ask you a question, then. Out of all of those things I just said and spouted off, what are you most proud of? Maybe we'll start with the mom, and then maybe we can kind of work our way through some of those.
Always mom first. I'm like that parent that talks about my kids all the time, although they are driving me insane right now, as most parents
aren't they all right now? Yeah.
They're everywhere. It's a lot. I don't know, speed skating, I feel like I have moments that are my favorite moments, but there's no like one race that really stands out to me. The two like biggest speed skating moments in my life were for sure the first World Cup medal I won, which was back in I think 2008, but it was unexpected for a lot of people, but I had kind of thought it was possible in my mind, so it kind of felt like that big step. And then for sure my first Olympic race, because it was in Canada. You can't get past that.
You can't get better than that. No. That's pretty amazing. You know, and let's go back to the beginning. Talk a little bit about kind of how you got into all this, and, you know, talk to us about some of the amazing things that you've experienced through speed skating, and maybe some of the influences that you had on your life, and kind of take us back on that journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, I grew up in Winnipeg, and, you know, it's so, I don't want to date myself, but it's so different now. And I have a 3-year-old girl, and, you know, I was born in the 80s, and it's back then, right? I was born in the 80s, mid 80s, not early 80s.
Yeah, that's good.
But it used to be, you know, kind of, I felt like when I grew up, it was very much like boys did sports and girls didn't do sports as much. And I never kind of conformed to that. And my parents never subscribed to that. And I remember being like this wild kid that, you know, I'm sitting here saying my kids are driving me crazy. That's why I started speed skating, because my parents were like, you drive us crazy.
Get out of here. Do something.
Get out. So I played soccer in the summer, and in the winter they were like, you need to get out. And in Winnipeg you don't ski. So they were like, we'll put you in this speed skating club that was right behind my grandma's house, and then you'll learn to skate, and then you can like play ringette or hockey or whatever. And I'm so lucky because they put me in speed skating, and there was like never a moment that I looked back. I remember being 7 years old and getting on the ice and thinking like, this is what I want to do. I love doing this.
Amazing. You found your true north. Your real true north.
I totally did.
Yeah.
I totally did. So there's so many, like, I always have known that there's so many people that want to do sport or whatever they want to do, but I'm so lucky to have found what I wanted to do at such a young age. And part of it's always luck, right? My parents put me in a sport that just clicked instantly, and I never looked back.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, it shaped you as a child, obviously. And, you know, when we're talking about these things, you know, opportunity talks, we're talking to families out there and kids and kind of finding their way. You know, what would you say to kids about, you know, participation and what it meant to you and how it shaped you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been known to talk in the past about how I would never say as a kid that I was an outsider, but I was never... like at school, I never felt like I truly fit in. I had friends at school, I never felt bad about going to school, fortunately, but I never felt like these are my people. And when I would go to skating or soccer or whatever random sport I was doing, I felt so connected to those people. And so sport always gave me what I felt like was a home. And, you know, now 30 years later, some of my best friends, the people I'm FaceTiming with every day to get through this, are speed skaters. It's people that I have known my whole life. And I know that sport does that for a lot of people, no matter what level. It's not about going to the Olympics or setting records to make those connections. It's about finding the people that have the same values and the same drives that you do. And for some people, that's art or math or music or whatever that may be. But I think with sport, it's about giving people a chance and giving them the opportunity to find those people.
Yeah, your people. Those are my people. I love that. I love that because it's true. And those are the people that you end up, you know, hopefully going through life with, and, you know, sharing your dreams with, and talking about struggles that you're dealing with, and people that can encourage you to keep going. You remember when we were at that championship? Or
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's so funny because you ask about races and moments, and when I talk with all my speed skating friends, it's very rarely about the races and about the competitions that we were at. And it's, I mean, you are a hockey guy. It's about the time that you played a prank on someone, or this training program that you did where, you know, something ridiculous happened. And those are the moments that we reflect on and talk about. And I miss skating so much, but even more than that, I miss seeing the people that become your family every day.
Yeah, that's the truth. Well, let's talk about representing Canada, because it's a big deal. And not everybody gets to represent their country, especially on a massive stage like the Olympics. Tell the viewers, you know, what went into that? You know, what went into that journey to get you to that place, the prep work, the sacrifices, and then how you felt on the stage, on the big stage.
Yeah, you know what? It seems surreal now, even though it's only been 6 years since I skated. My husband, he was an Olympic athlete as well, and he coaches now. And he really summed it up recently. He was at a competition, and when you're coaching in some distances, the athletes go to the start line in speed skating kind of right in front of where the coach is. So you see like their prep right as they walk to the line, and you see like their game face, right? And you see exactly what's going on. And he came home and he said, like, I can't believe I could ever be that intense about something.
Yeah, 100%. The game face comes out.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't believe I ever like hurt that bad intentionally every single day, because it's such a, speed skating is a bit of a strange sport where you kind of put yourself right to the limit every single day. So I think for me, looking back, it was just, at the time, it was what you knew. And what I knew was from when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, that this was what I wanted to do. And I was committed to the training. And I, for sure, as a teenager, had times where I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, and I was missing out on a party, or I was missing out on doing something that I thought was cooler than speed skating, which some people might not say is the coolest sport in the history of time.
I love it.
But I always knew that was what I wanted to do. So when I was bouncing rent checks, because I didn't have a full-time job, when I was 26 years old and I was still in university classes with people that were 19, when I was, you know, training 3 times a day, living in BC because that's where the Olympics were going to be, I just knew that was what I wanted to do. And I didn't ever consider that there was something else I wanted to do, because I so passionately knew that was where I wanted to be. And I think that's why a lot of athletes struggle with the transition afterwards, is because you'll almost never know, I don't think, that you want something as bad as that. Yeah. Right? Like, you just live for the competition. And then once you get to the Olympics, it's, you know, you're there representing Canada. And I'm so fortunate that I got to wear the maple leaf in Vancouver. Like, there's the timing of that, you can't plan that. No. And so to walk in, we actually had Marnie McBean, a very famous Canadian rower. She spoke to us before the opening ceremonies in Vancouver, and I remember her saying it was like right on the cusp of cell phones being really popular and people having their GoPros and stuff, right? Yeah. And I remember her saying, like, when you walk in there, put your phone down, put your GoPro down. Like, I know you want to call your parents, but like, walk in and look around.
Take it in, yeah.
Yeah. And so you walked in, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, because no matter what you tried to anticipate, it was bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So amazing. You know, I love that, because I think other people may not understand really the amount of work and effort that it really took to get you to that place, and that hard work pays off. And when we're talking about, especially during these times, is that whatever people are doing today, put your best foot forward, put everything into it, and there's a reward there at the end for all that sacrifice. And we're really proud of you for representing us the way you have.
Thank you.
And so I'm actually interested as well about, what's going on right now with the actual Summer Olympics. Since we got you here, let's chat a little bit about that. I will have a Summer Olympian on the show next week.
Yes.
Sam Effa is joining us. But talk to us a little bit about, what's going through the athletes' minds. And right now, I don't know if you've talked to any of them, but what happens now in a postponed Olympics or a canceled Olympics? What are they going through? What are you hearing from athletes?
You know what? That is what a hard thing to go through. And I think Canada's Olympians have dealt so well with it. Everything that I've seen on social media, everyone I've talked to, everyone's sentiments are, this is for the greater good. This is bigger than sport. And there's obviously disappointment, but I can't commend the Canadian athletes enough for how they've responded to that change. The way that affects an athlete is hard for me to even wrap my mind around. Like being 6 years out of sport, I lay in bed and think about what are they going to do? Because there's so many implications. Like I think about myself going into Sochi in 2014, and I knew going into that Olympics that, there had been injuries and all kinds of things. And I knew that I was going to retire after that games. And I knew I was married and my husband was retiring, and we wanted to start a family. We wanted to finish university. We wanted to do all these things. And you have a 4-year plan. Like your life as an athlete, everything you've ever known is you have these 4-year plans. Yeah. And so it goes beyond the sport where you're like, I'm going to have a kid at this age, or I'm going to be done my degree. I need to start a real job because eventually I need to not bounce a rent check. And right? Like all of these pieces. So like those implications alone, I can't imagine what the athletes are going through. But the 1-year postponement where people think, oh, it's only a year and a year is not a lot of time. But it is. And if there's any Summer Olympians watching, don't listen to me. A year is not a lot of time, but a year is so much time because you don't know if you're going to twist your ankle, if you're going to get the flu, if you're going to have, something happen to someone in your family. You don't know if someone else is going to all of a sudden go from being 18 years old to 19 years old in that year and go from being 10th in the world to first. There are so many things that can happen in a year as an athlete. And speaking from experience, a lot of athletes stay peaked for 6 months of their career. You can look back and say, these were the best 3, 4, 6 months of my life as an athlete. Yeah. And you might know that going in, and there's people that felt so ready for those Olympics. But on the flip side, there's people that maybe have been battling sickness or injury that this year is going to be the game changer.
It's an opportunity. That's right.
It's totally an opportunity. Yeah. So the emotions that they're feeling and the craziness that they must be feeling I can't imagine it, but they've handled it like such champs. I'm super proud of them. Amazing.
I'm going to ask you 1 or 2 more questions, but I'm also going to try to see if I can take some questions. I'm not the best at taking the questions out there, but how are you staying positive through these challenging times?
Yeah, I think for me, I feel very lucky. Like I'm holed up in our house with my husband and my 2 kids, and despite the kids driving me crazy, I know I'm so lucky to be here with the kids, and I'm trying to look at it as I'm getting this time with the kids, I'm getting this time with my husband, and I very much recognize that life outside of what's been happening these last few weeks is very chaotic, and my kids are entering the ages where they're in sports after school, and my son's in school and my daughter's in daycare, and I work far away, like a fair enough commute away, and my husband's schedule is a bit crazy, and life is running at 100 miles an hour all the time. And so I'm very much trying to just look at it as this is great family time, and that is easier said than done. Let me tell you, I'm not saying it's sunshine and roses every day. Those kids are driving me up the wall trying to work when my husband's also in a meeting and the kids need food or whatever. Like, there are moments where I am at my breaking point, but it's, you know, I saw someone posted a GIF or something recently that said, like, 30 years from now, you're going to look back and wish that you had to have your kids locked in your house with you. So
yeah, good point. Good point. Good point.
So I try to look at it that way, but the biggest thing that I think our family has an established routine for years now, since my 5-year-old could talk, that every night before bed, we kind of all, whoever, one adult usually does the reading, but we all tuck the kids in, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has to go around and say, what was your favorite part of the day? Mm-hmm. And it started totally organically, where one day we were like, Henry, what was your favorite part of the day? And he had kind of just started talking, and we were kind of just getting him to talk about things he liked or whatever. Yeah. But it became our bedtime routine. And I've noticed the past few weeks, it's super important for us to say, like, what was your favorite part of the day? And some days it's like, what I want to say is, like, my favorite part of the day was when you were all outside and
I had some alone time. Yeah.
But it's a good reminder, just kind of at the end of the day, to find the good in every day.
I love that. That's so important. One of the questions I saw here has to do with, Canada House, crazy stories from Canada House, or, the rumors true that it's Olympic Village is a real party.
I think the rumors are exaggerated about the level of party that the Olympic Village is. But I will say, so every Olympics that I went to, I had to be ready right until the last kind of day of the games. So in speed skating, the team pursuits, it's on like the last day or the second last day of the games. Yeah. So I missed a lot of the parties. Like, I'm not going to lie, there's good parties at the Olympics. Like, please. Of course there are.
Yeah, of course.
But I missed, like, the real party scene at the Olympics for the most part. Crazy stories. I mean, with athletes, you can find crazy stories anywhere. There's always, athletes are usually big personalities or weird personalities, and you're with the same people all the time. So you're bound to see, like, kind of funny stuff. Yeah. But in prep for this, I was kind of thinking, like, okay, what's he going to ask me?
I might ask you anything, right? Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And the one question that I get asked all the time is about the hockey players. Every Canadian, especially kids, want to know, like, did you see Sidney Crosby? Yeah. And my like, hands down favorite Olympic/Winnipeg moment of all time is, again, as an 80s kid, I grew up watching the Jets, loving the Jets. My grandparents had season tickets to the Jets. Amazing. And so Teemu Selanne was like, only people from Winnipeg can even understand, like, the Teemu Selanne love affair.
God. Yeah.
So at the games in 2014, and so I'm not really, like, fangirly around people. I think, like, oh, I kind of want to see them for interest's sake, but I don't care. I'm not going to, like, approach them. I'm not going to bug people. But it was like, I literally all of a sudden was standing in line next to Teemu Selanne in 2014, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I had to, like, pick my jaw up off the floor. Yeah. And then I kind of was, like, waiting for my food, and I thought, like, you have to say something. You can't miss this moment. Yeah. So I turned back to him and said, like, I'm so sorry to bug you. Like, I'm not trying to do this to you, but I grew up in Winnipeg, and, like, you're my hero.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he was awesome. He was so awesome. And he said, like, shook my hand. He said, I love Winnipeg. And I was like, everyone from Winnipeg loves you. Like, you know.
You are the man. And
you know. Yeah. And I went, like, as soon as I was out of earshot, I phoned my brother, and I was like, I shook Teemu Selanne's hand. And
he's like, no way. Yeah.
Yeah, he was super jacked. So that was, like, my biggest fangirl moment. For sure.
Oh man, so good. Well, I don't want to, bring this awesome chat to a close, because I think it could go on all night here. But we should start to wrap it down. And a couple things I just wanted to, I know you're big into helping people and giving back and philanthropy, and maybe just talk a little bit about that part of your life, and why that's important to you, and why people should volunteer that are watching, and making our community better.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have always tried to give back in some capacity. I think if you're fortunate in any way, it's your job and it's your duty to give back. And I would hope that people don't feel obligated to do it. I hope that people want to do it. And I think the biggest message that I try to share is like, giving back doesn't have to mean this huge monumental chunk of time or money or whatever that may be. Like, giving back can mean, you know, you have some old pairs of running shoes that you throw in a donation bin. Mm-hmm. And like, I see people downtown when you go to drop clothes off at a drop-in center that don't have socks. Like, that's something I've said to my kids when we're driving, is like, some people don't have socks. Mm-hmm. So for me, sport is the natural place to give back because I love sport. I'm very passionate about it, obviously, and I know that sport teed me up for my life. But I think whatever your passion is, there is an opportunity to give back. And for me, it's about encouraging people to try things. Try public speaking if you're afraid of it. Try speed skating if you think you can't do it. If you're a girl, like, don't be scared to be muscular. If you think that all professional or Olympic athletes come from rich families or have parents that were Olympic athletes, that's not the case. Anyone can do anything. And I feel like I grew up very lucky to have parents that told me you can do anything. And I always laugh because I look back and I was 9 years old watching the 94 Olympics, and I said to my parents, like, I can remember saying to my parents, I want to go to the Olympics. And my parents were like, okay, cool, go. That's fine. just
do it. You can do it.
Just fine. And they didn't bat an eye.
Yeah.
And so that is a message that I so badly want to share with people all the time, is like, just say yes. Just say you can do it and try and do it. Yeah. And if you don't, you don't, whatever. But if you do, it's awesome. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to be the son of Wayne Gretzky to play in the NHL, right? Like, anyone can do that. And those stories are out there if you look for them. But it's important to share them because not everyone hears those stories.
Amazing. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you for just all that you're doing in your community and across the country. And I say keep up the great work. We will, for those of you watching, we will repost this on our socials. So make sure you share them. It's at their op. And I want everybody out there to play safe, play fair, and turn every obstacle into opportunities. And have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Britt.